It snowed yesterday. I really wasn't expecting too much, to be honest. All week they said 30% chance of rain, and then I woke up yesterday morning and it said 70% chance, but I still thought it was just going to be kind of a mixed flurry snow thing. I think there's a deer. Yeah, the deer are walking around here. Isn't that cool? I saw a bunch of deer the other day when I came down. They are not scared of me. I have my headlight on and their eyes reflect and I catch them. Didn't expect it as much as we got, and of course quite a bit of it's already melted today. Sure is pretty. I mean, think about this. I mean, it's an acre and a half. I get this scenery. I find this piece of property so amazing. We're close enough to resources where we don't have to stress if something is needed. If something breaks around here, if it's not on a Sunday, I can go to the hardware store. It's not a big trip and I don't have to make a big plan. Go into town, Charles Ingalls, putting the horses on the carriage. I don't have to any of that worry. And we can go to Dollar General. There's a little mom and pop store not too terribly far. This is just a perfect atmosphere. Of course, I mean, there are a lot of people who believe that you got to be a million miles away in order to live off grid. I'm not trying to be an isolationist. I'm making up words. I don't even know if these words exist. I don't need to be isolated from everything. I just want to be independent, self-reliant. So you could call myself a anti-socialist or something. I'm not big into socializing. I'm not big in community events. I'm not big into public schools, churches. I don't go to church. Now, I know somebody's going to criticize me. And I'm not saying that I don't have my religion. I'm saying that churches, here's a reason. We sent my daughter to church her entire childhood. She wanted to go to church. I never stopped her. Never. Well, as she got older, the church and her had an understanding that we weren't going to go to church. And she wanted to get baptized, which again, no big deal. Now, I know that people are going to think I'm terrible, but the agreement was we weren't going to go to church. So during the baptism, apparently she told her preacher, I wish my mom and dad would come to the baptism. Well, she didn't say that to us. If she'd asked, we'd have probably went. So the preacher comes over and says that our daughter wanted us to start attending church. And I thought, really? She's never said a word to us about it. She kind of understood our philosophies on church. So, of course, I asked her about it instantly. I mean, I want her to be happy. And if church is going to make her happy, I will consider it. I will think about it, those kind of things. And so I asked her, I said, did you tell your preacher that you wanted us to go to church? Now, when my daughter lied, it was quite apparent that she was lying. Her eyes would get real big, and she would stutter and try not to answer. I mean, it was clear that she was getting ready to lie. But she didn't this time. She said, no, I didn't say that. She said, I wanted you to go to my baptism. I told him that, but I didn't say anything about going to church. So he lied. So that is the reason I don't go to church. I've had several examples of that in my life. If a preacher can lie to you, I don't want to go. So this is kind of the mindset I have. That society does whatever they can to manipulate you. I just have learned to stay away from it. Instead of getting mad all the time and being frustrated and getting into conflicts, I'm just not going to even attend these events. Our daughter was homeschooled. This is an important part of the conversation here. And I had a lot of reasons I wanted to homeschool. First of all, I wanted her to get an education, which paid off. She got, I think, a master's degree, an associate's degree, and she's got some education at Harvard. She started college at 14 years old. So, I mean, it really paid off to focus on her education. I have a video somewhere on this channel where she made a little video for me so I could posts that she talks about her education and homeschooling. Of course, a lot of people frowned on it. It was pretty serious, and I had family members complaining that she wasn't getting socialization. Well, there was a lot of studies done. Whether you agree with what we did or not, I don't really care. I think I did the right thing. But there was a lot of studies done that says that when children socialize with children, they act like children. But when children socialize with adults, they learn how to be mature, and they can be just as happy, but they learn more skills. But I was getting such harassment from family. I mean, things were starting to get out of hand. I thought that somebody was going to turn us in and say that we were being abusive or something. So I signed her up for, well, I shouldn't say I, my ex-wife and me, signed her up for Girl Scouts. And she went to Girl Scouts for a couple of years. So we went to pick her up from Girl Scouts like we always did, dropped her off at the school cafeteria. They did their thing, and we went to pick her up. And we never really paid attention to what the Girl Scout leader was saying, but this particular time, something caught my ear. And she was telling those girls, my daughter, the girls, that if your daddy is giving you hugs and you don't want to give him a hug, you make sure you report that to your teacher. What? You're going to make a hug into an offense of that nature? So we pulled her out of Girl Scouts. Even my wife agreed that was over the line, my ex-wife. Yeah, I didn't feel like I was being overpowering with that decision. It was kind of out of line. So we signed her up for 4-H so she could still get the socialization that my family seemed to think that she had to have so badly, where they get to teach them how fathers are terrible and all the things that have went wrong in our society because of it. So I try to stay away from people, but I don't think I need to be an isolationist where I can't have an access to a road, or if I want to get on Facebook or YouTube, I can do all that. Make my own electric, and it's pretty satisfying. You put up no trespassing signs, that's the most important thing. But the thing I see about no trespassing signs, people say you need a gate, you need a fence, and then you got to paint all your trees purple. No, I'm not painting my trees purple. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put up a couple no trespassing signs, and if I see anybody trespassing, I'm going to stop it. And so when you enforce these rules, people learn real quick, oh, he doesn't want to be messed with. And I've made lots of videos about the no trespassing. But society is just out of hand. And so I look at my comment section all the time. They're talking about how the politicians are out of hand and we need to abolish politicians and all the 3-letter agencies. Well, or we could just abolish people. People are the problem. People hire the politicians and the 3-letter agencies, and they don't do anything about it except complain. Well, I've done something about it. I got away from it. I homeschooled my daughter. I pulled her out of Girl Scouts. I looked for the signs that things were going wrong. And I did it at a pretty early age. I was 28 when I adopted my daughter. So I knew back then, even though I wasn't big into politics when I was 28, I really wasn't. I rarely watched the news. I don't even remember watching the news, to be honest. I just got out of the military. I just wasn't that concerned about what was going on. But I knew enough that schools were wrong. Well, here's what I knew. I knew that I wanted my daughter to have a superior education, and I thought we could provide it better than the schools. And it turned out I was 100% right. So that is an aspect in my mind of being off-grid. I don't think even people realize how much they socialize. They got to have friendships. I don't have to have friendships. If Carolyn is around, I'm fine. Of course, if Carolyn dies, I'm going to be lonely. I know I will. And I was just talking to Carolyn about this morning. I will be lonely. But I won't get another relationship. It's too much. I mean, the first thing somebody's going to want to do in a new relationship is move me out of here or get a bigger house, and I don't want any of that. I'm happy the way I am. So immediately try to change you. I just watched a video and it's just horrific. This is why I'm here. This video is a perfect example. So in Pennsylvania, they had a snowstorm. So the school canceled classes, well, I guess, but they held them through Zoom. So I guess they don't even have snow days anymore. I guess they just do all the classes through Zoom if there's a snow day. Get kids on a computer and socialize more. That's all it is. It's just socialization. They don't teach anything anymore. I don't hear of any education being taught. Let's make a statement. Let's make a political statement. Now, I don't care what the kid did wrong. If he has a disciplinary issue on Zoom, then that's a parent-teacher conference. So if the student did something wrong, so be it. So the kid's in his bedroom. He's on his computer. He's attending to this Zoom class, and he says he had a toy gun that fell down from his TV, so he went to pick it up. The teacher says that he picked it up and said, "Hey, look what I got." Okay, if he did that, then you call the parents in the class and you talk to the parents. Maybe you give him a detention. Maybe you give him a suspension. That's all that is. But they didn't. Now, there is no video recording of this. Apparently, this is the only class of the entire day in the school day that the teacher didn't record the class. All other classes were recorded, but this one. So she calls the police. Please keep in mind, the child is in his home by himself. I think he's 13. So I assume the mother is at work. They call the mother and explain to her that the child is going to be suspended. So the mother calls the student and said, "What did you do?" He says, "I can't talk to you right now. The police are here." So the police are in this woman's home, this child's home, without a warrant, without a parent, and they arrest the child for disorderly conduct. What? I don't even understand this. This is the society you want me to live in? This is the society I'm supposed to socialize in? No, thank you. I'm not interested. So the school is blaming the police officer, and the police officer is blaming the school, saying, "No, the school wanted me to arrest him." And, well, I mean, how many constitutional violations are there here? Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Here's the thinking of the people who are doing this. The teacher who called the cops and the cop and everybody involved is, yes, I'm violating the Constitution. And without a warrant. So, right? I mean, that's all it is, because of a toy gun. So let's just look at it from a different perspective. Anti-gunners called the police, had the child arrested without a warrant, without a parent around, 13-year-old child, in his home. Of course, the charges will be dropped eventually. But what's going to happen is the parents have to get a lawyer. The parents will have to pour money into this to get their child charges dropped. There will be an investment made to get this erased, removed, whatever the case is. So the psychology is, it doesn't matter if we violate the Constitution. It matters that we have to get rid of guns, and we have to teach kids that guns are bad. And the way we're going to do it is by violating the Constitution. Yeah, the kid's going to get off. Who cares? But it's all the money that they had to pour into it. So this parent will learn a lesson. This parent will remove all toy guns from this child, because they're not going to want to pay for lawyers a second time. Lesson learned. Okay, we won't do it. You're right. This is why I get off grid. This is why I homeschooled my children. The same thing applied. My child was not allowed to hug her father, because obviously that's That's kind of creepy. You shouldn't. I mean, it's not like you're hugging and kissing and all this stuff. Hey, it's time to go to bed. Okay, Dad. Let me give you a hug. Okay, hug. Good night. And then that's wrong. Tell your teacher. Get your dad arrested. So no, you can't have freedoms in this country. They're not going to let you have freedoms. And I've said it many times before. You have to find your own freedoms. In a world without freedoms, as soon as you realize that, there is no freedoms, and there's no reason to be mad about it, learn that there are no freedoms. As soon as you figure that out, you can be free. You can be more free than most people. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about the wood stove. So I hope I can inspire you to live free, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.